to thank Kids at Play, Living in Digital Times, Tonda Sellers, you've been wonderful. Thank you for helping put this panel together. And we've got 2 more folks getting mic'd up, but why don't we get started? So I'm Hester Tinti-Kane. I'm with EdTech Times. We're a digital media company. We focus on education and technology. So I feel like I'm sitting in front of the right audience. Everybody having a good CES so far? Yeah? Yeah? Awesome, great. So this is my first morning here, so I'm just starting to dig in. I'm really looking forward to it. I'd love to hear, after we're done, what you guys have enjoyed the most so far. So let me introduce the panel. First, we have Zee Dubrovsky, and he is the CEO of Robotics. And Zee, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your product and sort of the dream that it came from. Like, where did it come from? Where did this idea for Robotics come from?
Sure. Am I on?
Yeah, here.
All right. So, I'm good. Thanks. So, Robotics started at Harvard University actually as a research project, and our mission was really how can we make an impactful educational tool that can reach anyone that wants to learn how to code, whether that person be 4 years old, whether that person be in college, whether that person be an adult. And we wanted to make a robot around that because we think that robots are the best way to engage in curiosity. So we are launching Root today at CES. It's a robot that draws, erases, and scans. It sticks to whiteboards on walls, and it can be used on flat surfaces with paper.
Exciting. Thanks for that brief introduction. Now I'd like to introduce Michael Blaustein. So he's the product manager for Botley from Learning Resources. Michael?
Sure. So is this on? Can everyone hear me?
Can we hear Michael?
Hello, hello. Yes, there we go. Learning Resources is an educational toy company. We've been a leader in educational toys and games for classrooms and for home for over 30 years. And we view coding with this product and some other ones we've done as sort of the literacy of the next century, of the current century, the 21st century. And we see a natural progression from what we've done in the past, ABCs, to very basics of coding and critical thinking and simple logic. So this year at CES, we're introducing Botley. Here's our little friend Botley. He's an out-of-the-box, screen-free coding robot with some advanced features that are beyond what we've done in the past, some smart logic and some key concepts that are commonly introduced in other coding apps. But the key with Botley is completely screen independent. So batteries in, out of the box, and he's ready to go.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. I'd like to introduce Zheng Shi, and he is the CEO of Beyond Tablet. John?
So at Beyond Screen, which is the company's name, we aim to create a platform. It's a screen-free, shared, tangible, interactive experience for the classroom and for home learning. So Beyond Tablet basically is a very large tablet, but it doesn't have a display screen. So hopefully during this panel discussion, I'll have the opportunity to show you how it works. Our goal is to find partners to bring Beyond Tablet to every child, every home, and every classroom.
Thanks, John. I'd like to introduce Thomas Serval. He's the CEO of Kolibree. Thomas?
Yes, thank you, and good morning, everyone. So I'm the proud father of 3 children who don't brush their teeth enough, as many fathers or mothers. And 4 years ago, I invented Kolibree, whose goal was to solve this problem. Most people know that cavities are the most common disease in the world, so it's an easy to eradicate disease if you find the right tool. I found my children love to play, especially with my phones. So I invented a couple of toothbrushes over the last 4 years that will turn brushing into a game. And this year we are introduced at this CES this brand new product called Magic. It's the first augmented reality toothbrush. So we use now augmented reality to not only locate where your kid is brushing, but also to give them a nice mask and nice attributes that will make them play as much as they play with other cool stuff.
That's great. Thank you, Thomas. So, Zee, back to you. Tell us a little bit about how friends and family maybe helped inspire the Root Robotics. I mean, tell us a little bit about what's the story, I guess, behind the product, the human story.
The human story. So, I'm a father of 3 daughters, 6, 9, and 12. And about 3 years ago, when I wanted to make sure that they were getting a good coding education, I would ask myself, my school can provide this. So I met with the teachers and asked, what are you doing to help? And they were asking me to volunteer in the class and run sessions. And that's a real problem, because there's a lot of parents out there in the world that have that same pain point, like I had, of how are you going to get your kids learning. So the solution is really starting in the home, getting parents comfortable, finding the right tools for their kids, and also at the same time making tools available for teachers. So my inspiration was really my own daughters. So they all code with Root and do amazing things, and then they bring it into their classroom and do show and tell with the robot on the whiteboard.
That's very cool, and we'll talk a little bit about where you're going next eventually. So,
Yeah.
Michael, tell us a little bit about where Botley came from.
Sure. So 2 years ago, we introduced a coding product, the Code and Go robot mouse, and it's basically a small floor robot that sits on boards, and he's a robotic mouse. You have to navigate a maze to get him to a piece of cheese, and then there's a reward. And it met with tremendous success. And for our next product in the series, we wanted to go beyond that and introduce some slightly more advanced coding features in a more fun, whimsical way, because we know that with coding, as with many subjects, kids really grasp onto sort of the story of what's happening with the robot and the personality of the robot. So we embedded a really fun, we think, personality in Botley, from his name and his appearance to his whistles and his sneezes and his voice. And it's something that we think kids can really latch onto. And I did quite a bit of testing with my own children as well as in classrooms, and they really seem to grasp onto his personality.
That's great. Thank you. So, John, tell us a little bit about how your family and friends sort of contributed to the creation of Beyond Tablet.
I have 4 children. The older 2 are about 10 years older than the younger 2. So as the older 2 were growing up, they're all very sweet kids, always like, Daddy, let's play this and that. And then their school provided them with the MacBook Air, and all of a sudden, with parents, we disappeared. It was always like, I'm working on my homework. Okay, a few hours later, you call to them and say, Daddy, I'm working on my homework. I didn't like that. So with my 3rd and 4th child, I thought I had a second chance. So as a PhD, I wanted to teach them a lot of things, but I also found that it's hard for me to teach young kids, even math. It's just because the format that I'm teaching them, it's just simply not interesting to them. That's why I created Beyond Tablet. We actually started out 5 years ago, so this is a lot of years to build something, but it allows us to build a very large IP portfolio to keep ahead of competition if there is going to be any competition. But yes, I really have made this for my child, and also I believe that my desire to play with my child, my desire to see children in classrooms, they can share experiences instead of everybody doing their own thing or staring at the screen. I believe that desire is not just alone by myself. It should be a shared belief.
That's great, thank you. And so, Thomas, you have already talked a little bit about your children and how they're not great brushers, but maybe you have some other pieces to share about how friends and family maybe helps you develop the Kolibree toothbrushes?
So actually, my co-founder is my dentist.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So I can tell you a funny story about that. It's like every year I was like the bad father, and the dentist was saying, "You're such a bad father. You should know how to brush your teeth. Look at yours. It's all not all." So actually, I realized it was not only a kid's problem; it was also a father's problem. So eventually, I tried to imagine what an app could be doing. And it was a lot of try and error. And I can share one of the lessons. Initially, they were playing a lot of Temple Run. So the first app we made was a parrot game where the kids were playing a little character that was running. And if you were rushing on the left, then the parrot go and collected coins. If you were rushing on the right, and then you learn all the good gesture. And we ran some tests, and the dentist saw that we had an incredible result, like 95% of the coverage of the mouth was done. Usually it's 30%, so to tell you how dramatic the change was. But they say it's not a good product, and I say why? It's because in your parrot game, you go left and right, but you forget the front teeth, the one they're already doing. So actually, we actually have seen the compelling power of gamification into learning new behavior or instituting new behavior. So we had to redo the whole parrot game in making it a serious game, which became a journey of 3 months. So it took you 3 months to achieve all the worlds. But after the 3 months, you would have acquired the skills for life on where to go in 16 different areas of your mouth. And when we remove the games, and we let the kids just act as they were already following the pattern that the game was teaching them without noticing it. So when we saw those things, we started motivating insurance in the world, big brands. We just announced a partnership with Colgate because that's a real mass impact. Gamification and a little bit of technology is a perfect match.
That's really cool. So back to you, Zee. Let's talk a little bit about the big impact that you think Root Robotics can have, especially in education, because I know you're moving in that direction.
Yeah, so I think the way that I see our market for Root is we're serving two very different markets, but they have the same common goal. So we have roots that can go to parents, but I think the long-term impact is getting roots in schools, because I think that is where we can make a massive impact. Because when we're trying to teach coding our kids, like I don't worry about whether or not my kids are getting a mathematics education, because schools have that covered. And eventually schools are going to figure out how to do that for coding. And I think Root is one of the tools that is going to enable that. Because what do they have as an anchor? What do they have as a platform that you can build from kindergarten to first to second and continue building up from? So if we can give positive, impactful coding experiences from early ages and keep on building on those experiences up until high school and beyond, then we have something there. So we've made the interface for Root match that same vision and that same impact, starting with the graphical language and building up to text-based coding. So my vision and hope is that Root will be the standard way that kids around the world learn to code.
Can you just talk a little bit about the 3 different levels that you have within Root and sort of like
Sure.
where they apply, you think, maybe in the K through 12 landscape and the grade
Absolutely.
levels?
Yeah, so at the level 1, you don't even need to know how to read. So it can get used around the world, the same exact level. It's a complete graphical language. Everything is touch and play. But we made the interface approachable so that if you want to learn to code and you're in high school, you can use that interface as well. So it's suited for 4 and up. Level 2 is for early readers or comfortable readers. It requires precision. It requires understanding units and units of measure and accuracy and variables and logic. And it's kind of building up your brain around computational theory. So that's like 7 and up. And then at level 3, you're coding in Swift or Python or JavaScript. And you're learning the syntax of code. But we're treating text like as if it's blocks. So we're building up off of the capabilities you've learned in the previous levels. And then when you're learning and getting comfortable with the Swift syntax, now you're ready to leave our app and continue from a computer. So our plan with Root is actually to even have college level courses from computers using Root, so kids can see that like endpoint.
Is that Root?
Cool.
That is Root.
Get the document camera if you want to try it, possibly.
Great, thank you. So Michael, can you tell us a little bit about what you hope the impact of Botley will be?
Sure. So with Botley, we're trying to make something that will be as appealing in classrooms as it will be appealing to a parent for a child at home. We see an increasing dependence on screens. We wanted to really make something that was out of the box. You don't have to pair it with a tablet or a phone. All you're doing is popping in batteries. In fact, you're not even pairing Bluetooth remote to the robot. It's just very simple in its simple in its setup, simple in its usage at a very young age, but then it can become more advanced with some of the more advanced coding features that we put in there. So what we'd like to do is be able to introduce these coding concepts at a young age, kindergarten, sometimes a little bit younger, and then have it grow with the child up to second, third grade with some of the more advanced features like the if-then logic that we've embedded in there.
Great, thank you. So John, tell us a little bit about what you hope the big impact of Beyond Tablet will be.
First of all, this is going to be all about my own kids, my own family. As a parent, I quite often I'm very, very frustrated because I just feel like they have so many good things, they have so many distractions, all these things that are just like quote unquote fun to play with. And they're all trigger happy, and they spend just way too much staring at a screen. So what I'm hoping to achieve for my own children is really the opportunity to get them to think. Get them to think deeply about a problem, and also get them to share an activity with other people in a sort of eye-to-eye, face-to-face fashion, instead of mediated by all these networks and that technologies and this type of realities and that augmented stuff, right? I'm just very old-fashioned. I think in the classroom in kindergartens and elementary schools, you want the children to be playing together instead of playing in groups. However, each of them just doing their own thing, and I think that's not healthy. So if the world, if you as parents share my view, then I think the product will have an impact on your family or on your children as well.
That's great. So Thomas, tell us a little bit about what you think the big impact will be with Kolibree.
So first of all, we are very happy because the idea that we launched 4 years ago is now becoming pretty massive. We have already sold hundreds of thousands of devices. But this is just the beginning, because the technology we introduced this year is the first one that is able to locate the toothbrush in your mouth without electronics, which allow incredible economics of scale. So we will be able to turn nearly every toothbrush into a connected toothbrush for a very affordable price. If you bear in mind that every year we sold 3 to 6 billion phones, we also sell 3 to 6 billion toothbrushes. So you see where I'm coming from. If we can implement this technology and make the fact that just visual recognition of the toothbrush will turn into new activity, new games, having people build new platform of games, and we have a partnership with Ubisoft, which is European largest game developer. We can make this fun for everybody, everywhere in the world, for every kind of game activities. So if we can make this happen, we'll be happy, and the partnership we announced with Colgate is probably the best way for us to accelerate this transformation.
So I'm so happy that I've, over the course of the past, probably 6 weeks, had the opportunity to meet all of you, and just listening to you talk about the impact. I mean, Zee and Michael talking about the impact of, introducing a really fun way for students and kids at home to really build up their learning of coding, not just sort of, let's do the hour of code or let's have computer science week, but let's start thinking about, computer science and coding as a long-term part of the curriculum, as you're saying, just like math. I mean, this is just another, 21st century skill, as they say, that everybody is really going to need to learn about, and it's going to have to sort of become core, like some of the other major subjects. That's really rich and really strong, and thank you for bringing these things to the market. John, I'm really touched by what you're talking about with the interactivity of what you have with Beyond Tablet. I mean, I come from a communication background, and the idea of interpersonal communication is so valuable in our world right now. And we all know, as professionals and as adults, it's not anything that's going away. But in some ways, it's getting harder to be good at it, I think, because there's so many mediated communication opportunities that you have, whether you're texting somebody or emailing somebody, even if they're in the same house with you or the same office with you, there's less face-to-face communication. So it's really important that you take the time and you learn how to do it. And also, as you're talking about in groups, in classrooms, and even groups of siblings, to be able to learn that interactivity and how human beings communicate together and work together. And then finally, Thomas, I mean, the idea of just the basic, like step number one in health and hygiene is to keep your teeth clean. And to be able to fight back a lot of the bacteria that starts to grow there and then spreads to other areas of your body. I mean, everybody's just bringing something so valuable to the table. I'd like to sort of wrap it up with some just quick ideas of like where you're going to go next, and then please finish by letting people know what your booth number is so that they can stop by and visit you. Or website if you want to add that in too.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So where are we going to go next? So when we designed Root, we designed it to last 5 years. There's a lot under the hood. It has 50 sensors and actuators. We're not planning on releasing a new robot next year at CES. But we are planning on releasing many different expansion accessories for Root to continue and add to the capability of the coding experience. But one of the other things I just wanted to touch on real quick is, you know, I often get asked with my daughters, you know, so you want them to be computer scientists because there's this big job opportunity for the future. And it's really, what I've come to realize is that I don't expect my kids to become computer scientists because they're learning coding. It's giving them a very important life skill in problem solving, and that's what I think we're going to make is a lot more problem solvers in this world. And so if you want to see and experience what that's like, come visit us at booth 43961 at the Sans Expo right here. We have a 16-foot coding wall, and you can code with Root and draw artwork all over it and have some fun.
Cool, thanks. Michael.
So we're hoping everybody will fall in love with Botley the way that we have in developing Botley. We think that it's a great introduction of this kind of product into the coding field to get kids really engaged and invested in a fun, interactive way. We think the screen-free is a very important part for this particular product since it goes down to the younger age. And we'll be continuing. We've got an accessory set that's coming out for Botley in the spring that's more of a Rube Goldberg type design where you're knocking down and triggering swing hammers and gates and such, because we see, I think it came up in the earlier panel, is STEM a 4-letter word? We see it as a 4-star word. It's a big part of what we do at Learning Resources. So more stuff with Botley to come for sure. And we're in, I want to say, we're in Tech West. We'll get what Zach said, 4307.
Thank
you. And learningresources.com to find more about Botley.
Is this your first CES?
We've been at CES, but we've not demonstrated. We did demonstrate another product at CES a number of years ago, but it wasn't a robot.
Yeah. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Great.
These guys have been around for a long time, Learning Resources.
So John, tell us what's next.
Hester, instead of answering that question, can I actually take the time and just show what this is?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm not going to use that. This is so much easier. This is Beyond Tablet. We actually have 3 sizes, and this is the home schooling edition. We have a standard size, which is bigger, and then a flagship size is even bigger. And those 2 sizes are classrooms, where you have more real estate, more space to be a shared activity among 3 or 4 students. Now, you can actually play with this. I just don't have the time to show. But let me show you how I can transform this tablet without a display screen into a smart musical instrument. And that's how you do it. This is a piece of plastic. All right. You place the plastic on top of this. I believe it always, it just ran out of battery. All right. It's like raining in a desert. All right. So let me just give it one more try. Okay, what is supposed to happen is that now this is actually a keyboard for music. You actually hear the music sound. And these cubes, each face will have a different music element. So we have several cubes like this. You place them on the board, and it's actually started just the sound. Let me see. Here we go. Voila. So you place this here. So you can see they all have like different melodies of the same class of music. We have 4 of these. You play 4 of them together. Then they form background music. And the background music, once it's formed and the children like what they hear, they can play the keyboard, and then they can actually upload the piece of music they have created on this to the cloud. So just want to show you quickly, since I'm really running out of time. We have a lot of different games developed for this. We have like 20 plus types of learning modules, including math, logic, coding, music appreciation, visual perception, even empathy, or even just competitive games, teaching children how to understand each other and how to maneuver, how to outsmart each other. So this is what Beyond Tablet is.
Great. Thank you, John. Thomas, what's next for Kolibree? It sounds like you've had some exciting announcements just in the last 24 hours.
Yes, so a lot of things are in the near future. The first important thing is what I call closing the loop, which is with the new tools we are building, we have incredible new sets of data that researchers, scientists, educationers can use to actually build new strategy, invent new games. So we also have announced with Apple that we are launching a big study using ResearchKit and deploying a lot of those toothbrushes to actually understand how do people brush their teeth all around the world. And that's not next, this is like the present, and it's a very, very interesting experience to actually understand what the daily hygiene of millions of people with different cultures, and so then we will have actionable strategy to actually have an impact on their behavior. That's what's next, or at least what's next is to visit our booth, which is easy to remember, 44155. All C, and we have a vision of the bathroom of the future with one of the smartest mirror who won a lot of awards at the CES as well, which envision what could be the connected bathroom of the future with a lot of feedback, learning good habits, and it's a platform. So new ideas are always welcome, and the way we see our goal or the way Kolibree wants to evolve is really to provide tools for people who are in direct touch with their children or professors who want to get involved in changing people's life to build very easily, the same way they learn programming, new strategy to improve your daily habits.
So I'm just realizing that, John, you weren't able to share a booth number. You do have a booth, though, yes?
Yes, I do. I was going to ask for 10 seconds from you. So we're located in between family and kids technology and baby technology. Our booth number is 43561. So look for like whole overhang sign that says Beyond Tablet and Beyond Screen. We're looking for partners, so come to see us if you're interested.
Please join me in thanking this wonderful panel here. Thanks so much.
You ready?
Do we have time for questions, or are we out of time? We have about 1 minute. Does anyone have any questions for anyone here on the panel?
Where is the mic? Oh, there it is.
I've got it right here.
Anybody? Yes. Aren't you glad I don't have those things on? I'd be killing myself.
I'm just wondering with Kolibree, what was your some of your biggest challenges that you guys had to overcome?
Some of the
Biggest
biggest challenges. The biggest challenges was to build an algorithm that was detecting where you are in your mouth, because somehow we built the equivalent of a drone, because we actually are locating where you are in your mouth. It took 4 years of hardcore R&D, machine learning, and a lot of technology that I cannot even describe with words, to actually be able to locate where you are in your mouth with 3 teeth accuracy, which is and just to give you the starting point was we had a accuracy of 100 feet.
Well, Hester, thank you very much from EdTech Times. Wonderful job moderating this diverse group of geniuses. Thank you very much, and I hope that we did justice with showing some of this stuff. Visit their booths. Be sure you get your hands on them to try them out, and thanks for the updates. Hester.
Thank you.
Thank you.